Hello, Green Bay Packers fans, wherever you may be. Welcome to another edition to the Pack Attack cast, brought to you from fans for fans. We're going to continue to discuss Green Bay Packers as always, and today we've got a special topic, the schedule for the Green Bay Packers. This is my attempt to predict what the NFL will do with the schedule when it's announced on May 14th. This is my attempt to figure out what we could be looking at for the Green Bay Packers schedule based on their known opponents and what I think the NFL is going to try to do to make the most of each Packer game. And we're going to try to predict which games are going to happen when, and also try to figure out which games are going to be primetime games. So let's jump right into it. I'm going to share my screen and let's look at our potential predictions for the NFL schedule for your Green Bay Packers. All right, here we are. Here is our list of opponents. We know the opponents because the opponents are decided based on the final standings of the 2024 season. We know we're going to be playing the Vikings, the Lions, and the Bears, of course, at home, since they are divisional opponents. We're also going to be playing against the NFC East. So we're going to have at home the Eagles and the Commanders. We're also going to be playing the AFC North. So we're going to have the Ravens and the Bengals at home. And we're going to have the Panthers thrown in just to round out the home games. This is going to be a very juicy home schedule. There's not a lot of easy outs here. This is going to be a very competitive at-home schedule. Looking at the away games are actually, in my opinion, looking a lot better than the home games. Of course, we have the Vikings on the road, the Lions on the road, the Bears on the road. We're going to play a tough game against the Cowboys on the road. Then we have the Giants, who are rebuilding. We have the Browns, who are rebuilding. We have the Steelers, who don't really know what their identity is quite yet. We have the up-and-coming Broncos. And we have the Arizona Cardinals, who are also rebuilding. So, in my humble opinion, it would not shock me if our away schedule results in more wins than our home schedule. They're really going to have to make the most of the home field advantage from all those Packer fans to get an advantage against a really tough home schedule. Let's take a look at what I'm predicting for the release that will be on the 14th. I predict the Green Bay Packers are going to play the Steelers in Week 1. I also predict that this is going to be a Sunday night or a Monday night game. Keep in mind, in Week 1, there's probably going to be 2 Monday night games. So the reason I think this is going to be the case is because it's very likely that Aaron Rodgers is going to be the quarterback for the Steelers. And I think this would be a very intriguing Week 1 matchup for the NFL to have the Steelers playing the Packers on week number 1. Aaron Rodgers versus his former team is just the type of juicy story that the NFL would love to have on week number 1. Week number 2, I believe it will be the Panthers at home. I'm just throwing that in there. I think given the fact that they're going to have a tough road game against the Steelers week 1, the NFL will throw the Packers a little bit of a bone and have their easiest home game week number 2 against the upstart Panthers. Then week 3, I predict it's going to be your Super Bowl champion Eagles against the Green Bay Packers. I believe that will also be a Sunday night or a Monday night game because this is a playoff matchup with huge implications for the 2025 playoffs. So I do expect the Eagles are going to be early on in the schedule, and I think week 3 makes a lot of sense for the NFL. Week number 4, I have the Green Bay Packers traveling to the Detroit Lions. I think a spicy in-division matchup, although the NFL wants to keep most of those matchups for the end of the year, I think the Lions against the Packers, with the Packers on the road, hosting the Lions, would be a favorable matchup for the NFL in week number 4. Week number 5, I have the Green Bay Packers traveling to the Broncos, just trying to space out some of that travel. The NFL does like to do a good job of that. So I expect the Green Bay Packers to possibly play the Broncos week 5. And it would be a Sunday afternoon game because you have two playoff opponents, two former playoff teams playing up against each other. And I expect that would be a really good game in week number 5. Week number 6, I believe the Packers will host the Bears. Rivalry would be the primary factor here, and I think that will just be a morning game. Week number 7, I predict the Packers will travel to the Giants, and not much to say about that. Week number 8, I predict that we will go to the Browns. So we've got 2 travel games in a row, but they're going to be up against, I would argue, softer opponents. So this is part of the NFL just trying to balance the fact that the Packers are going to travel 2 weeks in a row with the fact that the opponents are not necessarily as competitive as you would like, to try to offset those. Week number 9, I have your Green Bay Packers hosting the Cincinnati Bengals on a Thursday night Amazon game. I think this would be a great matchup for a Thursday night. You've got 2 high-profile offenses shooting it out at Lambeau Field. I think Amazon would be very happy to have this matchup on a Thursday night game. Week number 10, I have us going hosting the Minnesota Vikings. Nice little division rivalry there. I think my assumption is the NFL will believe that the Vikings are going to probably finish 3rd in this division. So they're trying to push some divisional games in early in the season while keeping the prime in-division games for later on. So that's why I have the Vikings coming to Green Bay on week 10. Week number 11, I predict that the Packers will go to the Arizona Cardinals. Again, just spacing out that travel. And then week 12, in a Sunday afternoon game, I predict that the Green Bay Packers will be playing at Dallas. I think this is going to be a prime matchup on Sunday afternoon against 2 contenders for playoff spots. Right about week 12 is where the NFL really likes to get as many potential playoff matchups on the calendar. So I think that makes a lot of sense. Week 13, I think we will host the Baltimore Ravens on a Monday night game. So we're going to have a Sunday afternoon game followed by a Monday night game at Lambeau. I think that makes a lot of sense. Week 14, we're going to have the Green Bay Packers travel to the Vikings. Week 15, we're going to have them travel to the Bears. So we're going to have 2 division games on the road in a row. But again, these opponents should be teams that the Packers should be very competitive with. And I think it makes sense to have those 2 as back-to-back road games. Week 17, we're going to have the Commanders in a Sunday afternoon game at Lambeau Field. I think this, again, the NFL is going to want to get some of these playoff-ish matchups late in the season. And then on week 17, we're going to have at the Lions on Sunday night. I think this is going to be the marquee game perhaps of the season. And I think the NFL would love to have the Packers and the Lions with perhaps the division on the line in week 17. Now, what you're going to ask me now is, wait, I don't see a bye week here. So there will be a bye week here, but it's really hard to anticipate where the bye week is going to be. Because of the fact that the NFL has so many things going into how they calculate the schedule, it's virtually impossible for me to predict where the bye week will be. However, if I had to guess, it could be right here. There could be a bye week right here between what I have is 8 and 9 because the Packers have 2 road games. So a bye week would make sense. We could also see the bye week possibly late in the season after the game against the Cowboys. Again, after 2 road games. So it's really hard to predict what the NFL will do as far as bye weeks, but I wanted to give you my predictions before the release of the NFL schedule of where the Packers are going to be playing. So again, just as a recap, I have at Steelers hosting Panthers. Then I have the Eagles coming into Lambeau, Lions coming into Lambeau. Then we have the Broncos, the Bears, at Giants, at Browns, Bengals at home, possibly on a Thursday night game. The Vikings will come in, and then we play at the Cardinals, at the Cowboys. Then we host the Ravens on a Monday night football game. Then we have at Vikings, at Bears. Then we host the Commanders, and then the season will end in Detroit against the Lions on Sunday night football. So that's my predictions. We'll see how close we get to it when the schedule is released on May 14th. On the 15th, we will take a look at the schedule, where I went wrong, where I went right, and see how close I got to predicting the schedule. But I think this would be a really juicy schedule for the NFL, and it's going to be a very competitive year for the Green Bay Packers. There are no easy outs at home, unless you consider the Panthers an easy-ish out. And I actually do think that we're going to have a better record on the road than we have at home, unless the Packers really take advantage of that home field advantage. We'll see you with the next video, and as always, go Pack Go.